Hello, I'm the Doctor. Welcome to DoctorGeek. Today, I'm doing a speed rundown of the 6th Doctor for my 12 Doctors of Christmas special this month. Be sure to check back tomorrow for my rundown of the 7th Doctor and every day after that until Christmas. So like and subscribe to make sure you don't miss it. Just a reminder, there will be spoilers in this video. I will try to summarize quickly, but I will reveal key plot points, as this is a full summary of events. With that said, let's pick up where we last left off. After his regeneration, the Doctor starts behaving rudely and erratically. He goes to the wardrobe looking for a new outfit and finds a glaring, mismatched, brightly colored coat to which he immediately takes a shine. Perry tells him that he could not go outside wearing such an awful garb, to which the Doctor takes offense. He starts to say a poem about an evil Perry and seems to briefly go mad as he starts to strangle her, but quickly regains his composure. However, Perry is now terrified of him. Meanwhile, two genius twins, Romulus and Remus, receive a visitation from a mysterious old man called Professor Edgeworth, who abducts them from their home. They arrive on a spacecraft in deep space, and a slug creature called Mestor instructs Edgeworth to take the twins to Titan III. Once there, they are made to do Mestor's work and are given two options: work for him or have their minds destroyed. On the TARDIS scanner, the Doctor and Perry see a building on an uninhabited asteroid, but they are captured on their way to it and brought before Edgeworth, who the Doctor recognizes as his old friend Asmael. However, once he learns that he has stolen two children, the Doctor is disgusted, and Asmael leaves with the twins, locking the Doctor and Perry in the room and setting the station to self-destruct. They manage to escape in the TARDIS and head for the world of Jakanda after Asmael. Here, Asmael instructs the twins, telling them that their intelligence is needed for delicate computations that must be made to move two planets into the same orbit as Jakanda. The Doctor realizes that this will create a catastrophe and offers to help, but it seems the plan is to destroy the planet so that gastropod eggs will be flung out into space and conquer the universe. In the final confrontation, Mestor takes over Asmael's body, and the Doctor takes that chance to destroy Mestor's real body. With Mestor having nowhere to return to, Asmael forces his body to regenerate, and with no regenerations left, Asmael dies, along with Mestor. As they return to the TARDIS, Perry asks the Doctor to stop being so rude, but he replies by telling her that he is the Doctor, whether she likes it or not. The Doctor decides to repair the TARDIS chameleon circuit, something he is meant to do for years, but Perry is worried that he is overexerting himself after his regeneration. The Doctor decides to take her somewhere, and after a surprisingly bumpy ride, they arrive in Earth's orbit, 1985, and Halley's Comet is just going by. Just then, they pick up a distress signal coming from Earth, which in the 80s is quite surprising. The Doctor materializes the TARDIS on Earth, coincidentally at 76 Totter's Lane in Foreman's Scrapyard, where it all began. After searching the area, the Doctor determines that the signal is coming from somewhere else, and they return to the TARDIS, which now that it has a working chameleon circuit, has transformed into an ornate piece of furniture. They trace the real signal to the sewers, where the TARDIS becomes an organ, and they meet a man named Russell, who is an undercover police officer, and came down to the tunnels on a diamond heist, before his party was attacked. The Doctor and Perry return to the TARDIS, and are ambushed by the Cybermen, who kidnap Perry. The Doctor threatens to blow up the TARDIS unless Perry is released, and they relent. They tell the Doctor that the Cyber Controller is alive on the planet Telos, and force the Doctor to take them there in the TARDIS. The Doctor learns that now that they have found a time machine, the Cybermen plan to crash Halley's Comet into the Earth, so that in 1 year's time, when Mondas attacks, as we saw in the first Doctor's last story, the Earth will be unable to defend itself. The Doctor escapes and meets back up with Perry at the TARDIS. They travel to Cyber Control, where the Doctor finally destroys the Cyber Controller, and a well-planted bomb destroys the rest of the tombs. While repairing the TARDIS console, the Doctor finds that the TARDIS has unexpectedly stopped in deep space, and he can do nothing to fix it. Elements within the TARDIS have stopped producing orbital energy, and only Zyton 7 ore can realign the power systems. But as the Doctor explains, Zyton 7 is exceptionally rare, and only comes from one planet, Varos. Using the last of the residual power, the Doctor gets the TARDIS to Varos, originally a prison planet that now functions as a government system where voting is mandatory and torture and executions are televised. Here, a slug creature named Syl is negotiating with the governor of Varos over how much to pay for their Zyton 7 ore, which they traditionally underpay for. The TARDIS lands near a Colosseum-like facility called the Punishment Dome, and they are able to save a rebel leader being put to death. But as they escape, they are both captured. The Doctor is sentenced to death, but it is just a ruse to get information out of him, and he manages to escape with some others, though Perry is recaptured. They return to the control center and put a stop to Syl's plan to take over the planet. Later, in the mining village of Killingworth in 19th century England, miners are being gassed in the washhouse and transformed into thugs and vandals, attacking men and machinery, with the most passive of men suddenly turning violent and unpredictable. The Doctor and Perry arrive in Killingworth looking for the cause of some sort of time distortion, and immediately sense something amiss. The Master turns up, and he forces his way into the presence of the old woman who runs the washhouse. In reality, another Time Lord known as the Rani. She is a gifted chemist and is using the setup of the washhouse to distill from the miners the neurochemicals that enable sleep. The Master persuades her that they need to get rid of the Doctor together. The Doctor, meanwhile, has dressed as a miner and infiltrated the bathhouse, where he soon deduces the Rani's schemes. Meanwhile, the Master wants to use the finest brains of the Industrial Revolution to help speed up Earth's development, and then use the planet as a power base. He strikes a deal with the Rani that she may return to Earth at any time to harvest more brain fluid if she helps him achieve this. The Doctor sneaks into the Rani's TARDIS, full of dinosaur embryos for some reason, and overhears her planning with the Master. Later, he finds the pair and puts them under arrest, but they escape to the Rani's TARDIS, which has been sabotaged by the Doctor. It careens out of control, causing a T-Rex embryo to break open, and begins to rapidly age, trapping the Rani and the Master. The second Doctor and Jamie are sent to Space Station Camera on a mission from the Time Lords to stop the scientists Karts and Reimer from conducting their time travel experiments. Meanwhile, 3 Centauran battlecruisers appear near the station on an intercept course. The Doctor warns that the distortions from the experiments threaten the fabric of time, but Project Leader Dastari refuses to order them ended, accusing the Time Lords of not wanting another race to discover the secrets of time travel. At that moment, the Centaurans make their attack. In another time, the 6th Doctor and Perry are fishing when the Doctor suddenly loses consciousness, while his second incarnation is being tortured by the Centaurans. The 6th Doctor wakes up confused, fearing he may have just died in the past, which wouldn't make sense. He decides to confront his old friend Dastari about it. Arriving on the station, they find it deserted and smelling like death. They find Dastari's diary and see that the Time Lords objected to the experiments, suggesting that someone may be trying to frame the Time Lords for this crime. Perry is attacked, but manages to knock out the culprit, who turns out to be Jamie McCrimmon. The 6th Doctor hypnotizes Jamie and learns that the Centaurans are to blame for the 2nd Doctor's disappearance. The 6th Doctor uses telepathy to locate his past self, hearing the bells of Seville, and he makes for Earth. Dastari's plan is to isolate the symbiotic nuclei in the Doctor's DNA that allows him to safely time travel, so that he can use it for his own means. The 6th Doctor, Perry, and Jamie travel to Seville and rescue the 2nd Doctor with the help of Dastari, who finally sees that he was wrong, and the 2nd Doctor and Jamie leave in their TARDIS. The TARDIS becomes ensnared in a time corridor and is brought to the planet Karfel, where a small population is ruled in a hierarchy by a sadistic ruler called the Borad. Fear is enforced rigidly through the policing of androids, and all rebels are dealt with by either summary execution or death via the Time Lash, a permanent and ultimately fatal exile down a corridor of time and space. Below the Borad is the Malin, the most senior of the 5 counselors of Karfel. Another of them, Mikros, has grown unhappy with the rule of the Borad, saying their people have become disillusioned, rebellious, and miserable. Their former allies, the Bandrils, are poised to invade after the Borad rescinded the grain supply treaty which has underpinned the relationship between the 2 civilizations. Discovering their treachery, the Borad ages the Malin to death and sentences Mikros to the Time Lash, but his lover, Renus, pleads for his life, and when this fails, she steals an amulet from the new Malin, a man named Trekker, before accidentally falling into the Time Lash herself. When the Doctor arrives, Trekker threatens Perry to get the Doctor to return to the Time Lash after the amulet. The Doctor calculates that she would have ended up in 1885, and he meets her there along with a man named Herbert. The 3 of them travel back to Karfel, where Trekker condemns them again to the Time Lash. They fight back and manage to escape, and the Doctor returns to confront the Borad, who is horribly disfigured. But the Doctor recognizes him from his first visit to Karfel, where he exposed him to the Council for unethical experiments. The Borad wants to remake Karfel in his own mutated image, which prompts Trekker to rebel, but he is quickly aged to death. The Doctor, though, deflects the beam back at the Borad, killing him. After saving Perry, the Doctor returns to see the Borad alive again, the first being a clone. and this time he sends the Borad into the Time Lash. As the Doctor and Perry prepare to take Herbert back to his time, they realize that he is actually a young H.G. Wells. The TARDIS lands on Necros, at the funeral home and suspended animation center Tranquil Repose. The Doctor is attacked by a mutant, who Perry accidentally kills whilst trying to save him. Before he dies, the mutant tells the Doctor that the Great Healer used him as a genetic experiment. His appearance and hostility were caused by these experiments. At Tranquil Repose, a couple, Natasha and Grigori, have illegally entered, looking for the man the Doctor is seeking, Arthur Stengos, Natasha's father. Upon finding his suspended animation capsule, they discover it is empty. Shocked, they find a dark room filled with pulsating brains and other experiments. Grigori walks past a glass Dalek casing with a mutating red creature inside of it. Natasha realizes that this is the head of her father, and he is being changed into a Dalek. He explains to Natasha and Grigori that the brains of everybody in Tranquil Repose are being used to metamorphosize into new Dalek mutants. He orders his daughter to try and kill him before he fully mutates, which Natasha does, before the two of them are captured. Meanwhile, a woman named Kara has hired an assassin to kill the Great Healer, who is actually Davros in disguise. The Daleks capture the Doctor and throw him into a cell with Natasha and Grigori, but they are rescued by the assassin. Davros reveals he has created a new race of Daleks, loyal only to him. But learning this, the Supreme Daleks forces arrive, and there is another Dalek war, with the Supreme Daleks forces winning and taking Davros prisoner. With his last breath, the assassin tries to blow up Davros, but misses his chance, instead settling for destroying his army of Daleks. The Doctor is forced to land the TARDIS aboard a Gallifreyan space station, where he is brought into a courtroom. The Inquisitor informs the Doctor that he is on trial for conduct unbecoming of a Time Lord. Evidence will be presented by the Valeyard, who will argue that the Doctor was shown too much leniency when he was last on trial here. The first evidence is shown through video footage, taken from the Matrix, of the Doctor's recent involvement in the planet Ravalox, where the Valeyard shows that the Doctor willingly became involved in the affairs of the planet. The Doctor denies these charges as the Valeyard brings them. As shown by the court evidence, the Doctor and Perry land on Ravalox, both noting a similarity to Earth. The Doctor is aware that Ravalox was devastated by a fireball, according to official records, but the presence of flourishing plant life makes him suspicious. They are observed by Sablam Glitz and Dibber, mercenaries on the planet attempting to destroy the black light generator in order to destroy the robot deep underground that it powers. The Doctor and Perry find remains that appear to be that of the Marble Arch tube station on the London Underground, piquing the Doctor's curiosity even further. The Doctor wants to go deeper, but Perry is worried and stays behind, where she is soon captured by a local human tribe and imprisoned along with Sablam Glitz and Dibber. The Doctor in the underground complex is also captured by humans. He is brought before the Immortal, the robot that Glitz is looking for. The robot calls itself Drathro and is following its instructions to maintain the habitat of the underground system. The Doctor manages to temporarily electrify the robot and make his escape. Perry, Sablam, and Dipper also escape, and all four meet back at the ruins. The human tribe decides to go underground to attack the robot, but they are easily defeated, and the Doctor pleads with the robot to shut itself down because of its unstable power supply, but it refuses. In the end, Glitz offers to take the robot off-world, which it accepts. The Valeyard presents his second block of evidence, the Doctor's arrival on the planet Thoreaus Beta. The TARDIS arrives, and the Doctor shows Perry a weapon given to him by the Warlord of Thordon, made on Thoreaus Beta. He says he has come to find out how the Warlords obtained the technology. As they explore, they see three reptilian figures being carried by the guards. The third is their old enemy Syl. The Doctor realizes Syl is probably behind the arms sales and informs Perry that Thoreaus Beta is the home world of Syl's race, the Mentors. Exploring further, they find that the scientist Crozier, in Syl's employ, is attempting to perfect the ability to transplant the brilliant mind of Kiv, Syl's superior, into another body to overcome Kiv's impending death. When discovered, the scientist starts to probe the Doctor's mind, but the two make their escape with the help from the Warlord King Rachnos, one of Crozier's test subjects. However, the Doctor is dazed. The Doctor, Perry, Rachnos, and his men plan on an attack, but the Doctor betrays them by abandoning them at the last minute and warns the Mentors, causing Perry and Rachnos to flee in different directions. Syl asks the Doctor why he helped the Mentors, and he replies that the odds were better on their side. Perry disguises herself to get close to the Doctor, but he reveals Perry to the Mentors and requests he be allowed to interrogate her alone, a request that Syl allows. Away from the others, the Doctor tells Perry that his betrayal was all a ploy to learn more of Syl's plan, and he has discovered that they will transport Kiv's mind into his body if he does not cooperate. As Kiv's body is dying, Crozier is forced to transplant his brain into the body of one of Mentor's servants. However, Syl and Crozier decide to use Perry as a more suitable body for Kiv's brain, despite the Doctor's objections. As the operation is being prepared, the Doctor sneaks away and frees Rachnos, urging him on for Perry's safety. Perry is strapped down and gagged as the operation is prepared, and Perry's head is shaven. The Doctor attempts to return to save her, but is suddenly drawn hypnotically into the TARDIS, which appears in the hallway. It is revealed that he traveled directly to this trial from that point. The Doctor claims that the Time Lord's interference has put Perry's life in danger, but the Valeyard rebuffs this, saying the Doctor shouldn't have been involved in the first place, and Perry's life is the cost of that involvement. On Thoreaus Beta, Rachnos arrives too late to save Perry, and instead, distraught, fires wildly, killing her. The Doctor insists that the present trial appears to be serving a greater cause, and resolves to determine what that is as the trial continues. The Doctor returns to the courtroom after a recess, given to allow him time to mourn Perry's death. The Doctor begins his defense, showing events from his future. While on the TARDIS, the Doctor and his future companion, Melanie Bush, detect a distress signal coming from the galactic liner Hyperion III, a ship taking a supply of rare metals from Mogar to Earth in the year 2986. They land in the cargo hold and are quickly seized by guards and brought before the Commodore Travers, whom the Doctor has met before. Travers denies sending a Mayday signal, but wants the Doctor and Mel to remain on board. Mel enters the cargo hold, where she meets the communications officer, Edwards. He agrees to show her the hydroponic center, set up for the journey specially for the professors Lasky, Doland, and Bruckner, where only low-spectrum light is allowed inside to keep the plant pods dormant. However, when Edwards tries to enter, he is electrocuted, killing him. Later, Doland and Bruckner arrive to find that all the pods have been opened. Security Officer Rudge brings the Doctor to the bridge to question Mel about being in the hydroponic center. Rudge then gets a message from the medical team claiming that neither Edwards' body or the guards can be found. Meanwhile, Mel hears a noise in the air conditioning ducts and overhears creatures planning to kill all animal kind on the ship. As she listens, she is attacked and rendered unconscious, and her body is dumped in a disposal trolley. The Doctor runs after the trolley and rescues her. It turns out that the missing people have all been killed by plant-like creatures called vervoids, the creatures that came out of the pods. The vervoids' hostility towards them is instinctive, as they hate all animal kind and kill for survival. The Doctor has an idea that Vianesium, a rare metal stored in the ship's vault, would accelerate the vervoid's life cycle towards its natural end. They deploy the metal against the vervoids, which causes the creatures' leaf-covered bodies to die. Having saved the survivors, the Doctor and Mel depart in the TARDIS. But back in the courtroom, the Inquisitor asks the Doctor if any of the vervoids survived, and he informs them that none did, as if even a leaf had survived and reached Earth, a vervoid would have grown. Seizing on this, the Valeyard accuses the Doctor of committing genocide. The Doctor insists that the footage from the Matrix has been tampered with. The Doctor maintains his innocence, accusing the Valeyard of manipulating the evidence to his own ends. The Valeyard denies any such interference and closes his case. Meanwhile, two travel pods appear on the station. They open to reveal Mel and Sebulon Glitz, who enter the court just in time to assist the Doctor's defense, saying they had been sent by someone to help prove that the Doctor acted in good faith. This anonymous person turns out to be the Master, appearing on the view screen from inside the Matrix. He has been watching the courtroom drama unfold, but is for some reason unwilling to let the Valeyard win. The Master tells him that the Valeyard is an amalgamation of the Doctor's darker impulses from the future, falling somewhere between his 12th and final incarnations. The High Council offered him the Doctor's remaining regenerations if he could convict the Doctor. Being identified, the Valeyard flees the court through the door in the Matrix, with the Doctor and Glitz following him. In the courtroom, the Master explains that the evidence presented through the trial was mostly correct, but with small errors designed to convict the Doctor. These include the death of Perry, who actually survived to become Rachnos' queen. He admits that the Valeyard would make an even more powerful enemy than the Doctor, but in this way he can get rid of them both. The Valeyard appears, taunting the Doctor. He explains that he had to destroy the Doctor's good side to be free of all his positive traits. The Doctor and Glitz take refuge in a nearby hut that turns out to be the Master's TARDIS. The Master explains that the Valeyard has to be stopped because he has none of the Doctor's morality, making him an even more evil being than himself, which vexes the Master. The Master tricks the Doctor and activates a function on his console that puts the Doctor in a catatonic state. the Master's TARDIS materializes and the hypnotized Doctor is sent out as bait. When the Valeyard comes out to see what is happening, the Master shoots the Valeyard, but the beams from his weapon bounce off. Mel goes into the Matrix to help the Doctor and learns that the Valeyard is planning on killing the judges in the courtroom. She travels back to warn them as the Doctor stops the Valeyard's laser from firing into the courtroom, striking the Valeyard instead and allowing the Doctor to escape back to the court. The Inquisitor dissolves the trial and tells the Doctor about Peri's true fate on Krontep. She further suggests that the Doctor, for the third time, run for the vacant presidency on Gallifrey, but he declines. The Doctor and Mel depart in the TARDIS. He intends to return her to whence she came and wait to meet her in their original order. Back in the courtroom, the Inquisitor orders the Keeper to improve the security of the Matrix and repair it. The Keeper agrees, but as he turns away, he is revealed to be the Valeyard. Now, as far as the television show goes, this was the last time the Sixth Doctor appeared on screen, as during the next episode, The Time of the Rani, Colin Baker had been fired from the role, and Sylvester McCoy would go on to shoot the regeneration scene in the Sixth Doctor's costume and a wig. However, I feel it's important enough to give the Doctor a proper send-off, so we will very, very briefly take a look at his Big Finish audios, where he is widely hailed as the best audio Doctor. After dropping Mel off at her home, to someday meet her again for the first time, the Doctor leaves to go on many adventures, some alone, but most with brand new companions, including a young girl from London named Philippa Flip Jackson, who's full of energy, a giant talking penguin named Frobisher, and my favorite companion of the audio series, an older woman who is a teacher and teaches the Sixth Doctor a lot about himself, named Miss Evelyn Smythe, among many more. However, Mel Bush is the final companion of the Sixth Doctor, and is there as he regenerates. But whereas the TV episode would have you believe that he hit his head on the TARDIS console, the audio story, The Last Adventure, saw the Sixth Doctor do battle once again with his arch-enemy, the Valeyard, who regularly pops up to vex the Doctor throughout his sixth incarnation. Until finally, facing certain death, the Doctor telepathically sends a message to his past self, urging him to pilot the TARDIS to a planet with radiation that is deadly to Time Lords, but not to humans, so Mel will be left unharmed. The Doctor hopes that by killing himself, he will destroy every connection that the Valeyard has to him, leaving him stranded in the Matrix. Honestly, it's one of the bravest and most badass things any of the Doctors has ever done, and it makes the Sixth Doctor's regeneration so much more than a throwaway scene at the start of the Seventh Doctor's tenure. I encourage all of you to check out The Last Adventure, even if you've never heard a Big Finish audio before. I promise you'll enjoy it. So, that was my speedrun summary of the Sixth Doctor's tenure in the TARDIS. I hope you enjoyed it. Don't forget to like and subscribe for new videos every week, including a new video every day until Christmas. Also, don't forget to check out the first 5 Doctors that I've already done for my 12 Doctors of Christmas special. As always, thank you for being my companion on this journey today. I'm the Doctor. Bye for now.